It's a big blow to the BJP ahead of elections in the state of Karnataka. The Supreme Court today has severely reprimanded the Bommai government over its decision to scrap the Muslim quota in the state. The court was inclined to put a stay on the government order, but held off because the government wanted some time to explain their position. They've been given time till the 18th. The government has assured the Supreme Court now that no appointments will be made based on the new order till the 18th. The Bommai government, as you know, had scrapped the 4% quota for Muslims last month. The idea was to redistribute that quota amongst the powerful Vokkaliga and Lingayat communities who already have a quota. It was seen as an election strategy to consolidate the BJP's vote bank in the Lingayat community and make inroads into the Vokkaliga community, which has been traditionally close to the JDS. But now, the Supreme Court has come down heavily on that decision right ahead of polls. The court said that Muslims have been enjoying this 4% quota in Karnataka for a long time and that the order was based on fallacious presumptions. The Supreme Court said the Karnataka government's decision-making was flawed and shaky. The state has now assured the court that no appointments or admissions will be made based on the revised quota until April 18th. Let me go straight across to our reporters who are tracking the story for us. Imran is joining us from Bangalore. Harish is live with us from outside the Supreme Court. Harish, I'm coming to you first. This is a major, severe reprimand for the Bommai government. There are many things that the court has said to the Bommai government today. Can I ask you, if the court was inclined to put a stay on this quota order, why did it not go ahead?
Yes, that's right. The Supreme Court bench led by Justice K.M. Joseph just stopped short of imposing a stay after the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who had appeared for the Karnataka government, and Senior Advocate Mukul Rohatgi, who had appeared for the Vokkaligas and Lingayat community, persuaded the Supreme Court somehow that we should be given more time to file our affidavit, explain our stand without hearing us completely, hearing us at length. The court should not stay this decision of the Karnataka government scrapping the 4% quota, because it will cause severe prejudice to the Lingayat and Vokkaliga community who have been granted this reservation, taking it away from the Muslim community. Remember, Tushar Mehta, the Solicitor General, gave an assurance to the Supreme Court that between today and Tuesday, that is the next date of hearing, nothing irreversible will happen. That is, any kind of appointments or admission to education institutions applying this order will happen. So, based on this assurance, the bench led by Justice K.N. Joseph just stopped short of staying. Otherwise, it was all around, or just all stinging observations from the Supreme Court bench, which said that how can you suddenly stop a reservation with the Muslim community have been enjoying for more than 100 years, and the entire foundation is flawed and shaky, and the basis of this entire government order is not right, arbitrary, and prima facie it's unconstitutional, illegal, and arbitrary, and very severe, serious observations coming in from the Supreme Court, which said that prima facie it was not with the government order and is inclined to state. But this is after Dushyant Dave, who had appeared for two Muslim petitioners who had approached the Supreme Court, said that just nothing but a poll gimmick ahead of the elections to win the Vokkaliga and Lingayat communities vote. The Muslim community has been enjoying this reservation for more than 150 years now. It was suddenly taken away on the poll eve, and Supreme Court should see through it. But the Solicitor General Tushar Tushar Mehta and Mukul Rohatgi vehemently opposed any kind of stay without hearing the parties at length and somehow persuaded the Supreme Court against staying it. So the next date of hearing is on April 18, that is Tuesday. So by then, the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta and Mukul Rohatgi for the Vokkaligas and Lingayats have to file a foolproof, very strong affidavit justifying the scrapping of the 4% quota, and only then this order can survive, going by the tone and tenor of the court. Otherwise, the Supreme Court is all set to stay this very controversial order, which has raised a lot of political heat in Karnataka ahead of the elections. Back to you.
So what is very clear is that the Supreme Court has made its view very clear. They are saying, as Harish is telling us, the Supreme Court was fully inclined to stay the order. They have called it illegal. They have called it unconstitutional. They have said the decision making was flawed. It was shaky. So the Supreme Court, Imran, has made its view very clear. Now we will need to hear from the BJP and the BJP government in Karnataka. Any initial reactions that are coming in? Because fact is, it is no secret that scrapping the 4% Muslim quota and giving 2% to the Vokkaligas and 2% to the Lingayats was a poll gimmick.
Challenges in the court that it will be struck down, but they didn't expect that it will probably this moved such earlier to Supreme Court. Now this is a situation where the BJP is under immense pressure from Panchamshali Lingayat community to grant them reservations, and hence in order to please both the Vokkaliga and Lingayat communities, where Lingayat have been backbone of the BJP, and Vokkaliga where the party is trying to make an entry into the old Mysore region, that they had given a 2% reservation to Lingayats and 2% reservation to Muslims, I beg your pardon, Vokkaligas, but taking out reservation of the Muslim community. The Home Minister Amit Shah had said that a historical wrong had been done for 30 years in Karnataka, but that has been corrected. But the decision in which the BJP went about it without taking any recommendations from the backward class community or doing any study as to before taking out the reservation, all this was not done. Anybody who was looking at this reservation or who had constitution knew very well that if it comes to the Supreme Court, it will be struck down, and it will be very clear that some of the provisions in which they went about it, its totally process was not followed in removing the reservations. But the BJP was under pressure, and in order to please both the Vokkaliga and Lingayat community, this was done. Now this is if the April 18th, if the Solicitor General will not make a strong argument, if Supreme Court strikes down this judgment, this order of the state government, then it is again a headache for the BJP, because just now the whole entire campaigning started. Already there are a lot of backlash the BJP is receiving for some of the MLAs who have not received the seats, even though when it was announced, some of the Panchamshali Lingayat said that they are not happy with it because they wanted 2-year reservations, and taking a reservation from Muslim community and giving it to them will not stand scrutiny of law. And there were a lot of, even Kashyap Nair, the former Congress leader, had resigned from the Veer Shava Mahasabha community over this issue, saying this is just eyewash, there's nothing concrete about it. But if the Supreme Court rejects it, this order, then it will be again a challenge for the BJP, as again the Panchamshalis will hit streets on this issue. How will BJP wait? We have to wait and see. But response we sought from BJP, they have said that this is the reservation given on the basis of religion, and hence they a person reservation for Muslims.
Okay, I think we've lost our connection to Imran there.
A strong affidavit.
Thank you, Imran, for that. Yes, that has been the logic and the reasoning, Imran, of the BJP to say that any reservation given on the basis of religion is constitutionally flawed. Harish and Imran, we leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much. But that logic itself is flawed. That logic, Dr. Narendra Rangappa, you're joining us from the BJP, that logic is completely flawed because in Karnataka, there are 2 other religious groups that have reservation, the Jains and the Christians. So there were 3 religious groups that had reservation in Karnataka, the Jains, the Christians and the Muslims. And yet when it came to scrapping the quota for someone, you scrapped the 4% quota for Muslims and you didn't scrap it for the Jains and the Christians. So whatever argument you may make in the Supreme Court today or on the 18th, the fact is the Supreme Court has made its mind very clear that what the Karnataka government and the Bomai government has done is unconstitutional, it's illegal?
Definitely not. I don't agree with this argument because it's a good thing that the Supreme Court has taken it up again. Because we already have a precedence of Anita Reddy in the High Court from Andhra Pradesh, where they have filed a similar petition. But if I am going into the crux of the matter, in 1921, the Justice Miller Commission and the O. Chinnappa Reddy Commission, and then subsequently H.D. Devegowda giving the 3B reservation to the community based on religion, is against the principle of constitution which is written by Baba Saheb Ambedkar, whose birthday is very much tomorrow. So the spirit of the constitution has been upheld by the government of Karnataka, and we have not interfered into any other categories, because Jains, the 3B category is exclusively for Muslim
Dr. Rangappa, then are you saying what the Supreme Court is saying about this scrapping of this quota being unconstitutional, that they don't know what they are talking about? Is that, Dr. Rangappa,
Yes.
what you are saying?
Supreme Court has
And how can the constitution be shown to the Muslims when their quota is scrapped and not shown to the Jains or the Christians?
See, it is totally wrong to say
What
we have
sort of
totally
logic is
scrapped
this, Mr.
Muslim
Rangappa?
quota. It is totally wrong to say we have scrapped Muslim quota, because we have shifted them only. Where we have scrapped? Because Muslims are continuing to be in category 1. Muslims are continuing to be in category 2A, and they continue to be in EWS also. Where is the question of scrapping Muslim reservation? It is absolutely a malafide intention of the people who are spreading false information to the people, and they want to mislead the community. See, we are very happy that the Supreme Court has called us for explanation. We are going to explain to the Supreme Court, and I'm very sure the Supreme Court will be convinced by our argument.
Okay. Well, the Supreme Court today wasn't convinced with whatever arguments the Karnataka government has given. Fact is that the Lingayats and the Vokkaligas already have reservation. And the 4% that was taken from the Muslims, I just want to explain the situation to our viewers, sir. The 4% reservation that has been taken away from the Muslims, 2% has been given to the Lingayats, and 2% has been given to the Vokkaligas, taking up their reservation to 5% and 7%.
Sorry, ma'am, we have not taken it
Yeah,
away.
you haven't taken it away.
No, we have shifted it.
You have what? Actually, you have not taken it away, you have shifted it. Brijesh Kalappa, would you want to respond to that?
Not taken away.
Okay, so let's hear what Brijesh Kalappa has to say. Okay.
It's like this, that I remember when Honorable Prime Minister Modi was in Bihar, he had started a speech by reading portions of the Sachar Committee report. You know, in 2006, when the Sachar Committee gave its report, the BJP had said that, it's a false report, it's a fake report, so on and so forth. Then when Mr. Modi was appointed to office, he read from the Sachar Committee report, and he pointed out that, look, the Congress had gone wrong here, and here, by saying that, look, they had left the Muslims high and dry, and that the Muslims had not gotten their due share of the national progress, and therefore they deserve to have a due share in the national in the pie, and therefore he read the Sachar Committee report. Now, the Modi government also continued the Ministry for Minorities, which the Congress had begun. So what is it all saying? It's clearly an admission by the highest office that the Muslims are to be treated one way or another as backward. Whether they can be treated as a religion as backward, that's another argument. But the point is this,
so
it doesn't take
away. You agree that they need not be religious arguments, sir?
No,
if you agree they don't need religious reservation?
Yeah, I think the question which Shreya asked you is to be asked yet again, that if you're going to take the Muslims away from this reservation schedule, then take the Christians and the Jains as well. Why are you keeping them? Why did you not include? I think it would have been far easier.
3B, sir.
I think it would have been far easier. No, this is not. I don't want to have a dialogue.
Sir, go and check up your reservation.
Dr. Rangappa.
Sorry.
It's not proper.
No, Dr. Rangappa. It's a very basic question. It is a very basic question which any sensible citizen of Karnataka in this country will ask you. If the BJP government's argument is that any quota based on religion is against the constitution, how is it that only the Muslim quota is scrapped and the Jain and the Christian quota is not scrapped? When you don't answer that question, the impression you give is that the entire thing was a poll gimmick. You know, you could have done it last year, you could have done it last to last year, you didn't do it. You did it right ahead of elections.
Let me answer that point. Let me answer that point. See, all these things, as I quoted, O Chinnappa Reddy Commission and the H.D. Devagowda government, it all goes back to that time where they formed the 3B category for Muslims and gave them a separate category where Jains and Christians were not in that particular category. So all we have done is we have not done anything chedkane with the Jains and Christians. We have just said 3B is unconstitutional and we have shifted them to AEWS, whereas Jains and Christians, they stay where they are. So what is the point of contention here? There is no point of contention.
K V Dhananjay, what is the point of contention? You know, Mr. Rangappa, you can increase your blood pressure on this show, but the fact is there is a point of contention. The Supreme Court has asked you all those questions. It's not me sitting in a TV studio who has never opened a law book in her life. I'm not the one asking you that question. The question has been asked by the Supreme Court. In fact, today, the Supreme Court was inclined to stay this quota scrapping. Till the government came back and said, please give us time till the 18th so that you can hear our point of view. Anyhow, let K V Dhananjay come in. What's up?
Well, the BJP spokesperson is making it look like the emperor's new clothes scenario. You asked him a pointed question, which is if the BJP government believed that reservation cannot be offered to a religious minority, and on that basis, the BJP government simply removed Muslims. In that very category, there are Christians and there are Jains, both of which are religious minorities. Now, by the way, 2D, 2B, it's all the OBC. And by the way, my learned friend can point out what's the distinction between the Jain quota and the Muslim quota. Perhaps he can point that out. He can't. And that is why you have this, this is like the emperor's new clothes. The law on reservation has to be simple. And if somebody struggles to explain why they have included one and excluded another, you will have to take it as something like a political gimmick. And obviously, the courts could see through all of this. And that is why the courts came down. The Supreme Court came down heavily against the state government. And if somebody has enjoyed, or rather, the word enjoyed is not the right one. If someone has been protected under reservation for 3 decades, then you must have an extremely compelling reason to take them out of reservation. It can't be done in the manner that the government, did it. You hold a cabinet meeting and you come out with a government order and say that I have excluded 4%. It's abolishing, by the way. Now, if you might bring them under EWS, but that's a different matter altogether because they were in fact receiving benefit under this. And there's a world of difference between reservation given to an OBC and reservation given to an EWS. There's a world of difference between the two. And that's the reason why the Supreme Court apparently did not, really want to hold a detailed hearing, because this is so apparent and it's obvious to any reasonable person. A community has been protected for the last 30 years, since 1995. Just on the eve of election, you come out with a fiat. So how does any court take you seriously? The court did the right thing by coming down heavily, and obviously the state government has itself said that it will not be giving effect to this GO until Tuesday, when obviously everybody expects the GO to be stayed. Now, kindly see the kind of mischief that you're indulging in.
But here's the point. Here's the point. Okay.
Two communities, the Vokkaligas and
so,
the Lingayat,
the argument that is being made by the BJP is, एक minute. The argument, Brijesh Kalappa, that is being made by the BJP is that the Muslims had too much quota. When they say that they had reservations in different categories, essentially what they're trying to say is they had too much quota disproportional to their population in the state, to the percentage of the population in their state. My simple question to you is this. If this was a poll gimmick, in any case, it has succeeded. Because irrespective of whether it stands the test of law or not, the BJP can very well go back to its constituency, which is certainly not the Muslims, which definitely is the Lingayats, and they are hoping will be the Vokkaligas as well, to say, look, we gave you that reservation, we gave you 2% extra, but what can we do? The courts have struck it down. They still get to be the good guys in this election. Brijesh Kalappa.
I don't think it's as simple as this. You must understand that Karnataka, the state itself is a highly progressive state. So you'll find that, the same BJP, which did halal, hijab, and God knows what else it did, said that Muslims should not sell their wares outside, the Hindu temples and so on and so on, everything they did. So why is there not a single noise regarding communalism now during close to elections? There isn't, because communalism has absolutely no takers in Karnataka. And this is the politics. If you see, even Yediyurappa, he has never done communal politics. In Karnataka, if Yediyurappa is seen as a leader, he's seen as a all communities leader. Even the Muslims treat him with great respect. And Mr. Yediyurappa has been caught several times with wearing a Muslim cap and all this. So, and he's the one who started the Tipu Jayanti. So in Karnataka, you please don't believe that there is any market for communalism. Therefore, there is one wing in the BJP, and this caters to a very small cross section, wherein, say, in areas like Mangalore, Udupi, and so on and so forth, that there would be some kind of a benefit to the party. But ultimately, when the top leadership sits down, they realize that this is bringing them nothing. In fact, it's bringing them pain. So this is the reason you'll find that they start one communal issue and then immediately backtrack. Because in Karnataka, communalism doesn't take you too far. This is the essence of the matter. And then ultimately,
Mr.
what
Rangappa?
are you doing?
Mr.
Yes,
Rangappa,
ma'am.
I can give you 10 seconds. I don't have too much time, but I can give you 10 seconds.
See, this is a fallacious information that the Congress and the opposition parties are spreading, taking the Supreme Court as a what you can say an indicator. But I'm sure that we are going to convince the Supreme Court that our intentions are valid, and we are going to give proper justice. And our government is bound for सबके साथ, सबके विकास, सबके विश्वास, सबके प्रयास.
Nee, what was your intention? Very good, very good. But what was the intention? Look at the Lingayat community, for example. Why does it need any more quota? It is one of the most. It is one of the most influential, politically influential communities in the state.
Our intention
Out
was
of
to give a proper
23
distribution
chief
of
ministers,
quota
I
to
think
the
they've had
district
19
government.
from the Lingayat community.
See, if there has been a mistake or a fallacy for last 30 years, why should we not correct it? We have to correct any false the systems that have been happening. So we are going to correct it. We are going to convince
How is
the
it a
Supreme
mistake
Court,
for the last
and I'm
30
sure
years?
Supreme Court will be
How is
convinced
it
by
a
our
mistake for
argument.
the last 30 years?
Yes.
Sir, एक बात बताइए. How is it a mistake? Sir, listen to me. How is it a mistake for the last 30 years? And in the last 30 years, might I tell you, just a minute, Mr. Rangappa. I just want to put some perspective for our viewers, then you can talk. How is it a mistake for the last 30 years? And if it was a mistake for the last 30 years, the BJP has been in power in Karnataka for 9 years over various terms. So for 9 years over various terms, in the last 30 years, you didn't think it was a mistake. And suddenly in an election, which is being predicted to be a very close one, you think it is time to right a historical wrong, in the words of Mr. Amit Shah. Come on, Mr. Rangappa, all of us, Janta Bevkoof thodi na hai.
Madam, basically this reservation issue has been going on since last 25-30 years. The Congress has been sleeping over it. The Constitution says every 10 years you have to revisit the OBC. Every 10 years you have to revisit OBC. Congress was also in power for last 10 years. Then we have come now. Now we have taken up the matter since last couple of years, since the BJP came to power in 2019. And now we have made what we call a very
not
honest
a convince.
effort.
Your answer is not convincing. I asked you a simple question.
To distribute the justice to all the OBCs.
Okay, we'll leave it there. I think you've made your point clear. You have not answered my questions. Two pointed questions. A, if the BJP thinks it's a historical wrong and that for 30 years wrong has been done by giving Muslims quota, then why in the last 30 years has the BJP not attempted to remove it in the state of Karnataka? As I said, over various terms, the BJP has been in power for 9 years. Secondly, how is it that the BJP can say that, quotas based on religion are not constitutional. If that is the case, then why hasn't the BJP scrapped the Christian and the Jain quota? Two simple questions, which I think, forget answering those questions here on the Mirror Now studio. The BJP will have to answer those questions in a court of law in the Supreme Court, which will make up its mind on the 18th. We leave it there for the moment, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us. This was a good debate. I'm going to slip into a quick break on the show. There's much more news coming up on the other side. Do stay with us.